Welcome back to PokeFang Unpacked, where we unpack the latest news, updates, leaks, and rumors in the Pokemon TCG collecting hobby. If you're new to the show, my name is PokeFang. Welcome to the Fang Gang, and today we're going to be taking a look at some new information just recently announced. One of the new Japanese sets that's going to be making up part of the upcoming English set that will be known as Surging Sparks. It's going to be called Paradise Dragona. We've mentioned it in a few previous episodes, but it's now been officially released. This is the logo that's going to be on the Japanese packs. We still don't know what the Surging Sparks branding is going to be for the English set, but we do know some really interesting stuff about this set, including the fact that it's going to be one of a few things that's going to be making up Surging Sparks. So it won't be like Stellar Crown and Shrouded Fable, where they were just a one-to-one Japanese set to English. This is going to be another set like Paradox Rift or Temporal Forces, where multiple sets in Japanese come together to make up the English set. Before we get too deep into the details of Paradise Dragona, I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't seen it already, the Stellar Crown 4-part series is up. Stellar Crown is coming out on September 13th, which is just around the corner. And if you want to know everything that we know so far about that set, including the entire set list and all of the chase cards, make sure to go ahead and check out the Stellar Crown 4-part Unpacked series here on the channel. Now, back to Paradise Dragona. This banner right here was on the Japanese Pokemon website announcing Paradise Dragona. And as you can see, we have a preview of the pack art right there, which features a Stellar type Alolan Executor, which is also going to be in the set. You guys can see right there, there's going to be Alolan Executor EX, that's Stellar type Ultra Rare right there, or Double Rare. It's like Latios and Latias are both also going to be in the set. It's interesting that they're only showing us the Latios as a regular uncommon, and the Latias is going to be an EX in the set. All three of them are on the pack art, but we're only getting an EX for 2 of them. I'm curious how that's going to actually work out. And you guys can see down there at the bottom that it says it will be releasing on the 13th of September. That 9/13 right there, that is the 13th of September. So this is a slide that I start building out every time we get some news about upcoming sets. You can see right here the comparison between the Japanese set and the English set is how I like to break these down. September 13th, we are getting Paradise Dragona. We know that it has 64 cards, or it says 64 base cards plus secret rares. That's the only thing so far that we know right now. We don't know how many double rares, how many terraforms, ace specs, illustrator rares, etc. We have seen some of those cards in there later on in this presentation. However, we don't know how many there are going to be, which means we also don't know how many are going to end up in Surging Sparks, but it will be combined of multiple sets. And Surging Sparks is, if I didn't mention this already, going to be releasing on November 8th in the US. So this will be the next English set that we see after Stellar Miracle. Now, like I mentioned before, Paradise Dragona is one of multiple sets that's going to be making up Surging Sparks in English. So as you can see here, we have Paradise Dragona, which is coming out September 13th rather. And then we have Supercharged Breaker, which will be featuring a Stellar type Pikachu on October 18th, will be coming out in Japan. Those 2 sets are going to be making up Surging Sparks on November 8th. But those might not be the only 2 sources of cards that will be making up Surging Sparks. We also have these 2 new battle decks that came out. We have a Stellar type Sylveon EX, which looks absolutely beautiful, and a Stellar type Ceruledge EX. These are 2 different decks that are coming out in Japanese. We'll probably also be getting them in English shortly after. These are actually coming out later this month on August 30th in Japan. There have been rumors that we're going to be getting a Stellar type Evolutions set sometime in the near future between now and next year. And I think this is the first time that we're actually seeing a Stellar type evolution right here in this battle deck that will likely be featured in one of the upcoming sets. This is the Stellar Sylveon EX. Obviously, it looks beautiful. I love the way that these new Stellar types look with that rainbow border on them. And of course, the Ceruledge also looks really, really good. And to be honest, these are both 5-band graphics illustrations, and I'm not the biggest fan of 5-band. I typically actually really dislike the artwork in their cards. I can honestly say this style of artwork just hits a little bit differently, and it seems a lot more elevated than like the 5-band graphics that we're getting in the Sword and Shield era with like the Charizard. But these both look really fantastic, so I'm looking forward to getting those in an upcoming set as well. Taking a look now at some of the cards that have been revealed for Paradise Dragona, we have the Execute, the Gouging Fire, the Latias EX that we saw earlier, the Latios, which is just an uncommon in this set. We have a Passimian, a Klefki, the Alolan Executor EX Stellar Terra type, and Altaria, which is just going to be a uncommon in this set as well. A Dialga Rare, which I feel like I haven't seen in a while. A Swablu, obviously because we have that Altaria. We're also getting, in terms of the trainer cards, we're getting a Dusk Ball, a Dragon's Potion, and 2 supporters that have been revealed to be in the set so far have been Drayton and Lucia's Appeal. Something we've been doing over the last couple of sets that have come out through Shrouded Fable, Stellar Crown, and then continuing on through Surging Sparks. We've been seeing a lot of stuff from the Scarlet and Violet DLC LLC, the hidden treasure of Area Zero. Shrouded Fable covered the majority of what was in the teal mask, and then Stellar Crown covered a good amount of what was in the indigo disc, but left some stuff out, and that's probably what we're going to be seeing in Surging Sparks coming up. And seeing as we are going to be getting a Drayton supporter card in this set, it's pretty safe to say we could start knocking off some of the other characters here that were on the list, and checking those off the list. If you haven't played the games and you're not familiar with these characters, the Lucia's appeal is actually not from this generation. It's sort of a throwback character, and they've been doing that every now and then with the sets lately, where they pull somebody in from, you know, X and Y, Black and White, etc. But Lucia is actually from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, so Generation 6. And if you don't know anything about her, I put together a quick bio. She is a Pokemon coordinator and niece of Wallace from Ruby and Sapphire. If you played Ruby and Sapphire but not Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, then maybe you know Wallace. They have the same sort of colorway in terms of like their character design. She became an idol, which is sort of like a Japanese term for celebrity, in Hoenn for her achievements in the Pokemon contest spectaculars, filming commercials and scouting trainers to participate in the contests. And I actually wanted to include at the bottom of Lucia's bio here that she is Iono coded. So if you're more familiar with the recent sets in Scarlet and Violet, Iono is sort of a similar celebrity character that always has cameras and things around her. Lucia sort of has that same vibe and that same energy. And it's kind of a big deal that she's going to be in this set. It could actually imply some very interesting things in terms of the chase cards for this set, and I'll tell you why in just a few moments. But if you also don't know who Drayton is because you didn't play Scarlet and Violet all the way through the expansions, obviously this character's from Generation 9. This is the grandson of Drayden from the Black and White era. Drayton specializes in Dragon-type Pokemon and is a member of the Blueberry Academy Elite Four. I believe he's ranked number 2. Now back to Lucia, because this is kind of important. There's a likelihood that, seeing as these are the 2 supporters that have been revealed so far in the set, that we're probably also going to see full arts of one, if not both of them, and potentially more as more cards get revealed. But we haven't seen Drayton get printed in the TCG yet, so we don't know how hype that's actually going to be. But we have seen Lucia get printed a couple of times, and they have some pretty interesting numbers associated with them. If you've been collecting for a while now, then maybe you remember the Celestial Storm Lucia trainer card that was also in the Japanese set Sky Splitting Charisma, I believe it was called, or Charisma of the Cracked Sky, something along those lines. But we got this card in those 2 sets, in English and Japanese. But if you've only been collecting for a year or 2, then you might recognize her from this artwork from the trainer gallery of Silver Tempest, where she's featured with her main partner Pokemon Ali, as she calls it, or Altaria as we know it. So if she looked a little bit familiar, then maybe that's why. It was also featured in the Japanese set Incandescent Arcana that Silver Tempest was based on. Okay, cool, so she's been on a couple of cards, but why is that so important? Well, because the Celestial Storm supporter, full art supporter of Lucia is currently at about $282.56 raw, being bought and sold in that range. Not a ton of sales, but they're out there. In a PSA 10, it has a population of 595, and it's last sold for $549.99, so $550 in a PSA 10. That's pretty awesome for just a full art supporter, not a special illustration rare, not an alternate art, just a full art supporter. I don't know if this is just market coincidence or if people got tipped off to the fact that we are going to get a Lucia in this upcoming set, but it seems like the sales of this card have gone up in the last few months. But this is just the English version of the card, and we all know that Japan tends to go a little bit overboard with the waifu cards, which is probably why the Charisma of the Cracked Sky or Sky Splitting Charisma version of the Lucia Ultra Rare or Secret Rare in Japanese is currently at about $1,200 or more raw. Not a ton of sales data on it, but it seems like the most recent sales have been above that $1,200 mark, or potentially over $2,000 in a PSA 10. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm really hoping that we see another, at least full art of the Lucia in the upcoming set, Paradise Dragona, that gets carried over to Surging Sparks. I think that would be really interesting to see what the actual pricing does and what the market does for that card, given the history of this character in the TCG. As far as the rest of the cards in this set, we don't know a whole lot. We do know that this rich energy is definitely going to be in Paradise Dragona. You can see the number down there, SV7A, that's the code for Paradise Dragona, so we know that we're getting that card. But there's also been a couple of ace specs revealed throughout those other decks that we mentioned earlier that we could see in the upcoming set Surging Sparks, and that is the Perfect Mixer and the Precious Carrier. There's likely going to be more ace specs revealed for Paradise Dragona, as well as Supercharged Breaker, which will be the other half of Surging Sparks. So we don't know which ones are actually going to make it into our English set and which ones are going to be cut, or if they're all going to be in there. We have had sets that have had, I think, 6 ace specs in them in the past. So it's entirely possible that we end up with a lot of these different ace specs in Surging Sparks. Like I said, the only one that's been confirmed is the Rich Energy. As far as the ultra rare Pokemon, we should be seeing a full art of the Latios and the Alolan Executor at least. I had the Latios in there as well. Now, even though it's an uncommon in this set, I still feel a little bit weird that it's featured on the pack art, but potentially won't be getting an EX in this set. So we still don't know if that's going to happen yet. It could get an uncommon and an EX. It would be a little bit weird, but Pokemon's done weirder things. This is just an early preview of some of the cards that are going to be in the set, so we don't know a whole lot, but we're going to be filling this out as the episodes continue on forward and we get more information, so we'll know more in the future. Like I mentioned before, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to be getting at least full arts, maybe special illustration rares of some of the supporters that have been confirmed in the set, and so far that's just been the Drayton and the Lucia, but we still haven't seen Amorous featured in a full art supporter card, and I'm really hoping that we get to see that, if not in Paradise Dragona, then at least in Supercharged Breaker as it comes out. So why she kind of ghosted right here on this graphic, because we don't know that she's going to be in this set, but she's the only one of the Elite Four that hasn't been featured yet in a set. So they could be saving her, honestly, for Supercharged Breaker. We don't know yet. This is how my brain likes to see things between the Japanese sets and the English sets, knowing when things are released and what these sets are actually based on. So hopefully it helps give you guys an understanding as well. And most recently, we saw Stellar Miracle, the Japanese set, get released on July 19th in Japan. And that is going to be making up what will be Stellar Crown that we are getting on September 13th, at the same time as we get this new set, Paradise Dragona. And we will be following along with Paradise Dragona in a multi-part series that will probably spill over into our coverage of Super Electric Breaker and more or less become a series that covers the entire set of Surging Sparks. And being that it's based on multiple sets, it's going to kind of be combined all in one. So if you want to know what the upcoming Ultra Rares and Illustration Rares and Special Illustration Rares, all the different chase cards that are going to be in Surging Sparks, make sure to hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on so that you don't miss future episodes of Unpacked, covering all of these different things and revealing all of the different artworks and chase cards in these sets. Bit of a tangent there, but back to September 13th, we get Paradise Dragona and Stellar Crown. That'll be followed up by Super Electric Breaker featuring that Stellar type Pikachu, and we don't know what else. Like I said, we're going to be covering that as time goes on. That's October 18th. So just before Halloween, we'll be getting Super Electric Breaker. That's the Japanese set. So it's a Japanese release. You're still going to be able to get it here in English. We'll be opening it up on the channel as we always do. We just tend to get them in the US a few days after they release in Japan. And being that we are actually getting Surging Sparks released on November 8th in the US, assuming it's not going to be delayed in any sort of way, which there have been a lot of weird delays and timing things going on in the TCG space recently. So hopefully we get it on schedule, but possibly in the week following Stellar Crown's release, we should be at least getting a logo and possibly some assets like what the booster boxes are going to look like and some of the products, maybe even some of the pre-orders on the Pokemon Center website should become available for that November 8th Surging Sparks release. And that puts us into December when we'll be getting the Japanese high-class set of the year, the Terastal Festival, which according to rumors should be the ultimate evolution set. Apparently it's going to have stellar or terrestrial types of all the different evolutions, and it's going to be a special set. If you're not familiar with Japanese high-class set booster boxes, they look something like this, as I've like one of each of the ones that I featured on the slide, where they're a smaller booster box with less packs in them with a much higher hit rate. We have the Japanese release dates for a lot of these upcoming sets post-December, but we don't actually know when we're going to be getting them in English, but it should be shortly after. It's typically in the month or two after. So again, the Terastal Festival Evolution Special High Class set will be coming out on December 6th in Japan, and on January 24th in Japan, we're getting a set called Battle Partners, which sounds very interesting because allegedly it might have something to do with partner Pokemon or owners Pokemon. If you remember back to like Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge, when we had things like Lieutenant Surge's Raichu or Misty's Gyarados or Blaine's Arcanine, we could be seeing something like that actually come to the TCG. It actually sounds like a lot of fun. And you can see that Iono, that N, and that Lily down there at the bottom. And that's because there has been information teased about those specific trainers and their partner Pokemon being featured in Battle Partners, which would be absolutely insane, especially if we see some more Iono hype happen in the TCG. And Lily is also a really big deal. If you guys thought that the value of the Lucia cards that I mentioned earlier were absolutely insane, wait till you see see what Lily cards are actually worth. And all the way farthest on the horizon is the glory of Team Rocket, which is a set that I know a lot of people are excited about. Could be the return of Team Rocket and Rocket's Pokemon, possibly dark type Pokemon. We don't know. It could be combining some stuff with the owner's Pokemon of Battle's partners. We could see that also transition into the glory of Team Rocket set, but we don't know very much about it other than the title right now and the possible release date of March 2025. And that's going to be a really exciting series to unpack as time goes on. Some really interesting stuff coming up in the pipeline. And like I said, as we get more information, we'll be covering these in a different individual series, but this is just sort of a sneak peek of everything that is in the pipeline that we know about between now and March of 2025. As always, I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed the video. It takes me hours to do all this research and put these slides together, so I really appreciate it if you would smash that like button on the way out. If you found it valuable, please share it with a friend. It really helps grow the channel. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I will see you in the next episode of Unpacked.